before the break,
Yes.
You asserted that men should talk,
Yes.
get messy.
Yes.
Now, to bring it a little bit more personal, the question that put you on the hot seat was, where's one place in your current or past relationship where you weren't leaning in or getting messy, and about how you were feeling, what was the consequence?
I was married, so my past relationship, and what we fought about was finances, which also proves to be talking about finances is definitely a big schism for lots of marriages.
Yeah.
And we talked. Finances was a big issue for us, and one of the things I never talked about, or how I really felt, was my relationship to money that we had in our marriage. You know, we went and bought a second home. We were carrying a second mortgage. It was very expensive. And instead of just being honest and saying, hey, I'm not sure I can keep up with the Joneses, or here's how much I can keep up with the Joneses,
Yes.
I was personally responsible for not being honest.
Right.
And the consequence was we didn't have sex. We were not intimate with each other. We had a major disconnection in our relationship, and it showed up in between the sheets, like Andy Warhol said in his quote.
Yeah, and I do think that, you know, where you're out of sync with each other in other areas of your life definitely shows up in the bedroom. So that, you know, the finance things,
Right.
or if you're having trouble parenting your kids, or if you're not in a married relationship with children, something that's out of alignment outside of the bedroom is definitely affecting what's going on.
Right.
Yes, and a lot of today's show is, yeah, we're talking about sex and marriage and long-term relationships, but it comes down to, as men, we get to be responsible for whether it's working or not working.
Men who are particularly afraid of vulnerability are really, really bleeping scared of being vulnerable in the bedroom, asking what you want, things of that nature. I know I am, you know, and it absolutely affected my relationship. And it goes against everything we've been taught as guys. You know, it's easy to complain about lack of sex, and certainly easy to blame the women for it. But culturally, you know, they're crucified for that.
Tommy, you mentioned this whole thing about men may blame women. We were together at this old men's group.
Men's group?
Men's group. And I was one of the few single gentlemen in the room.
You were unmarried.
I was unmarried,
Right.
and I think at the time not in a relationship. I'm not quite sure. I might have been on again, off again at this
Okay.
point. And Global Tribe, let me tell you, if you want to hear some men blaming other folks, it was a session of grumpy married men talking about all the bad things there are about marriage.
Yep.
I didn't want to get married after that meeting.
Marriage is not exactly how it was described in that session, where guys were complaining about their significant others, their partners.
It's projected that men who are young adults now, let's say in their 20s and early 30s, by the time they hit their 40s and 50s, at least 1 in 4 of them won't have ever been married.
And now we have people not getting married at all.
Yes.
So do you blame the ones who aren't getting married then? I mean, really?
No.
Wait, so stop watching porn and go talk to your lady,
Yes.
right?
And
The
then
two
have-
come together, actually.
Yes.
Go have a real conversation by deleting the porn off the computer.
Yes. Why do I bring this up?
Yeah.
70% of all porn users or watchers are men.
Okay.
No mystery there.
And there's been countless studies that say it's getting in the way. It takes away some of your passion and sex drive for your significant other.
Right.
And I think this is the big aha that most men may not know. Women, for the most part, don't like when their men watch porn.
There's many reasons. One is I think women have the experience of feeling objectified. That's the right way of saying it, right? They feel like objects. And I do think that men, part of what gets in the way, Gregory, is that when we're watching too much porn, we then relate to women like that's how all women should be.
Women don't consider masturbation with porn as something that's very innocent. They also, actually, some equate it with infidelity too. Men, something to think about.
Well, I think porn is also used as a way to not talk. So I said at the very beginning in the riff, men have a challenging time expressing their feelings and what they want or what they're frustrated by. And instead of what they're maybe doing, it sounds like, is they're watching porn and checking out. And then they're relating to women like, well, that's how they're supposed to be in those videos or pictures.
Dudes out there, get off the porn. Or at least try it on.
Right.
see what happens if you don't watch it for a few
Or do
weeks.
less.
Or do less, and see what happens, and you notice about yourself, and notice about the intimacy of the sex that you might have with your partner. So now we've talked about get messy.
Right.
We've talked about less or no porn.
Right.
What else can we do to take responsibility for potentially having more sex and intimacy with our long-term partners or our
I'm going to clear my throat because I believe this is good news. Although, again, Gregory, you may say some of the dudes in the global tribe may not see this as good news. I know that the dudettes out there will. Dudes, stop creating a dynamic or avoid creating a dynamic of a mommy-child relationship. Mommy being your wife or long-term committed partner, you being the child. Dudes want to be taken care of. We do. More than we want to admit.
Dudes who want to really be taken care of.
I know, it's because it's funny because, we have this perception like, well, dudes are supposed to go out in the world and hunt and conquer. And yes, that's part of our DNA. It's part of how we grew up, if you would, will, in the world, right? So here's the thing. We want to be taken care of. And the minute we put ourselves in that childlike place or childlike dynamic, all hell is about to break loose. 2 reasons why men, Gregory, go to that 7-year-old childlike place is and where they want their mommy or their partners to take care of them. One is some dudes just weren't taking care of his kids. Now, there's legitimate reasons why they weren't taken care of. Maybe an absent parent, an abusive parent, whatever, older siblings, chaotic household, all that. There's legitimate reasons. So they weren't taken care of, and now they want to be taken care of. And then the second reason why dudes want to be taken care of or fall into that dynamic is that women naturally go into what I call that locomotive train, take control, project manager. I'm taking charge in the household. That's just who they are.
And don't act like a baby about it.
And don't act like a baby about it. Exactly.
Man up.
Man up. That's my version of man up, actually. Man up is really about go have a conversation. Be willing to have that messy conversation, even if it means you might have to stay up a little bit late.